Hello, welcome to another video. I've kind of been on this topic of the next step for a while, and it's starting, to slow down a little bit. So I thought, why not do something a little bit different? I am consistently doing video essays about the next step in character rankings, and I thought, the best way to close everything off and to finish the chapter, just so that I don't lose you guys as an audience, is I will be rewriting the atrocity of the next step season 4.
I'm scared, but I'll tie the liver.
You may be wondering, who asked? No, seriously, who asked? I thought it would be a little bit more fun if we could make it a little interesting, and we've seen it done before, why not have it done again? As you may know, the next step season 4 was a whirlwind of bad character writing, bad storytelling, and it felt like the writers kind of betrayed the audience in the sense, and betrayed their own characters. We saw Riley do questionable things and be given the position of being studio head when she was literally a minor. I don't care if 18 is an adult in some places. It is here, but to me, if you still got teen in your name, you should not be running a studio. She had been given so much pressure on her shoulders that she was making stupid decisions and decided to cheat on her boyfriend James with Alfie, a prince from Switzerland. I know, it just doesn't make any sense. There was a lot of storylines that just didn't necessarily fill in the holes of what a storyline of the next step should have been. I was rewatching season 1 recently, and one of the things that I missed from season 4 was the fact that they looked like a team of dancers, a team of teenagers who were trying to make it to regionals and reach this new milestone. And in season 4, I guess it was a bit difficult for them to achieve this, as they had to restart again after their win from internationals in season 3. So I thought, why don't we make it a little bit better and a little bit more fun, and kind of add in the touches of what made the next step the next step. Number 1, we're going to bring the team back together. Number 2, we are going to remember that they are teenagers. And number 3, teenagers go through hardships, and we're going to make it as realistic but not too heavy for an audience of children or who it is for. So my friends, sit back and relax, and let's get into this. I will put a storyboard up if I do have time to make one, but we are going to make this something exciting and fun and bring back the spirit of the next step, while also keeping in that drama and that touch of, whimsical whimsy that we got from the show. And we are not going to be seeing anyone disappear into fine dust, but we are going to see that element of the next step back. First note that I had was, instead of Riley becoming the studio head, which was a big topic of contention within the series and which led to their downfall at regionals, I would much rather have Miss Kate bring in her mother. The last time we heard about Miss Kate talking about her mom was in season 1, and I thought it would make more sense if we brought her back and we saw the dynamics that Kate and her had. I would call her Miss Sarah, and she would have the most generic mom name ever, and she'd most likely be in her late 40s, nearing her early 50s, and she comes back to take the credit of Miss Kate's recent win at regionals. She had a 3-streak win, guys. I think her mother would want to be involved, especially because Miss Kate did mention that she took over from her mom and decided to make the next step what it used to be. I would want Miss Sarah, Kate's mom, to reflect Emily in the sense that she's hot-headed, egotistical, vain, and a bit snarky. Not in the sense of a rich way, but in the sense of her cocky dynamic that she would have. I think it would be cool to see a dynamic between the two, mother-daughter, and to see if we can balance that off. But because Miss Kate had to judge a competition in season 4, I thought it would be a good idea if Miss Sarah, Kate's mom, brought in a sister to replace her, in the sense that she would be the new head choreographer in the studio. And I've decided to give her the name Sandra. SNS. Miss Sarah would bring in the level of authority that the next step desperately needed in this essence. I would keep the audition process the same, in the auditions being in the afternoon or in the morning. I would definitely have Sarah and Sandra take over, in the sense that Miss Kate doesn't have a say in any of these dynamics. It would be really cool to see Miss Kate and her mother in the audition process, and to see what kind of dynamic that they had before the studio. Maybe Miss Kate could say something along the lines of, "This is one of the reasons why my mother so and so and so, and why we never got along, and one of the reasons why my mother gave me the studio was for this and this." I think it would add a lot more to Kate's character, as we only see her as the studio head who seems to be hot-tempered and very absent. I think in the audition process, Sarah and Sandra would note the work of the newer characters, newer dancers, much rather than the old ones. I still think episode 1 would open up with us saying goodbye to the Next Step members, but in the audition process, we would be focusing heavily on the new talent, as they did in season 4. However, the emphasis will be on the new dancers. In the storyline, I thought it would be a cool idea if we had Riley be in the position of Amanda. Not in the sense that she would necessarily want to leave. No. I would put Riley in the position of her questioning if she should stay or if she should go. I think it would be really cool to see her dynamic of wanting to stay or leave, in the sense that she has James, her boyfriend, who's doing a lot more than she's doing at this point. We have Giselle, Talia, Eldon, West. A lot of these dancers are moving and doing better things. I think it would be really cool if we could have Riley question if she wants to stay on the team. I would have Amanda's storyline remain the same. Hear me out. I think it would be really cool to see if Sandra and Sarah were the ones to push Miss Kate into making a bigger decision than what she already had. Bring out the authoritative nature of Miss Kate in that sense. I do think then, if that were to happen, then Amanda would necessarily be on B Troop. She would not have the chance to audition for A Troop again, and I'll explain further. Back to Riley. In the essence of her questioning if she should stay on the team or not, I would have her audition, but I think she should have these conversations with Miss Kate, and I think maybe there could be tension between Riley and Miss Sarah and Sandra, in the sense that they don't necessarily get along with her, as Riley doesn't necessarily agree with the way that they are taking over Miss Kate's position. I would think maybe they would butt heads a lot, in the sense that Riley we saw how she was in season 1, and I think I would love to see this be reflected in season 4 again, except she's much grown and she's more mature in that sense. I also think Miss Sarah and Sandra would make comparisons between Emily and Riley, which would definitely instill another set of insecurity within Riley and her position as a dancer and as a position as a person as a whole. I think it would also reflect the dynamics between Sarah and Sandra, and kind of have this reflection of Emily and Riley between the two, and this will come in play afterwards. I think ultimately, in the end, to Riley's surprise, we would have Riley be dubbed the captain of TNS A Troop. Why? I think I want to still keep the nature of her being a leadership role, but I think it should be given to her as dance captain, much rather than her being studio head, as it doesn't necessarily make sense as for her to be studio head, and I think it goes well with her character for her to be put in as dance captain. I think this would cause some contention between her and Michelle, and I understand that Michelle was coming off of season 3, in which she didn't necessarily want to become dance captain, sure, but I think in the sense that her having to look at Riley as someone, as an authoritative figure, or maybe that Riley is doing a little bit better than she is, I think it would be a little bit helpful if we could cause a little bit of tension between their relationship, in which their building of their friendship would have more of an impact when they do that dance in the studio. Or for Rochelle, we have seen how underrated this girl is, and we literally saw her be thrown out of any sense of being dance captain her whole life because she was so deserving, and I think we need to fit her into the storyline a lot more than she is. I would keep her the same stoic, taking everything seriously, but I would make her have a bit of a personality and spunk when it comes to the role of captaincy and her place on the team. I would have Rochelle go up to the studio heads, Sarah and Sandra, in which she would ask them a question as to why she was not to be dubbed dance captain. I would have her be more hostile towards them in the sense that she studied all of the necessary cues for her to be dance captain. I would say that she would be not demanding, but she would definitely argue her case. I think in this sense, it would be really cool if Miss Sandra or Miss Sarah had asked her, "Why do you dance?" And I think this could bring in a better character for Rochelle instead of her being this dancing machine, which she is, and a very good one. I think if they asked her the question, "Why do you dance?" or "Why do you love dancing?" this could spark some character development into Rochelle. And this is where Piper's storyline will fit in with Rochelle. Piper's storyline of her wanting to shift out of James's shadow will be explored with her and Rochelle as being mentors to both J Troop and B Troop. I kind of picture maybe Rochelle coming up to Piper or Piper going up to Rochelle, in which they express how they feel about the certain dynamics that's going on and why they want to dance and what sort of pushes them to want to be out of other people's shadows. We have Rochelle wanting to become dance captain, in which she looks up to people who are like Emily, in which is trying to fill in that void. I think Piper and Rochelle would definitely bounce off each other in terms of their dynamic, and I would love to see the relationship of a very much stoic person next to an energetic person who's very optimistic. And I think it would be really cool to see them bring in that aspect of mentorship that we only saw in season 2, and I would love to see the mentorship that they would have between J Troop and B Troop. Maybe even Baby Ballet. It would be really fun to see them both bounce off each other and kind of see their personalities clash, in which they still also become close together. Biggest point, Alfie will not take an interest in Riley at all.
Okay. Now that's what I'm talking about.
There will be no such thing. Okay? There will be no such thing. I definitely think maybe Alfie would have a, wow moment, a fan moment of seeing Riley in the cafe, but I don't think it will be any more than that. I think it would be better if Alfie had a relationship with Cassie. Hear me out. Cassie in the Next Step season 4 was a character that was not utilized at all, except for the fact that she briefly mentioned that she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to dance again. We skimmed past that, and then we went to the fact that Cassie was a very blunt person. She says it how it is. Definitely think the writer should have capitalized off of Cassie's storyline of her being too told to not be able to dance again in her future. I would have loved to see them discuss the potential that she may never dance again with Alfie. Instead of Alfie being a prince, I would have a unique storyline for him in which he was previously injured in an accident. Maybe he ended up in a wheelchair, maybe he had knee surgery and he was bedridden for a few days, and he didn't know if the concept of dancing was going to be an option for him anymore or in the near future. I think it would be cool if he helped Cassie figure out the beauty of being in the moment and understanding that you can still do something even if you think the odds are against you. I think it would be really cool to see their dynamic as well, especially because if we add the aspect of Cassie being blunt, it would make sense for her to, just randomly blur out that, oh, well, doesn't matter, I'm not going to dance anyway in the next few years, or if she doesn't want to be dance captain, or because she was placed as alternate, it would make sense for Alfie to come up to her and be like, how come you weren't upset when you were classified as any of these positions on the team? And she would say something along the lines of, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to dance anytime soon anyway, so who cares? I think her being blunt and seeing things realistically would make a lot of sense, in which Alfie is more of an optimistic person who wants to see the good in everything and the potential for everything. I think this would be so much better than having this cheating narrative that was unnecessary. And this Prince thing just doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. Next, Sloane would not be romantically interested in LaTroy. I'm sorry, I don't like them together. I want there to also be a point where boys and girls can be friends and can be platonic with one another. I think it's very unnecessary for them to become a couple and for Sloane to be jealous, and I just felt like it ruined the whole vibe with her. I didn't like her that much. But let's try and redeem her a bit more. I think she'd much rather explore her improvement in technique with Noah. Why do I say this? Nearing the beginning of season 4, they did have an audition process in which she felt like she was slagging off and wasn't necessarily up to par with everybody. We could see the insecurity within her. She has a more compact moveset than everybody else, even the hip-hop dancers. She was a whacker, and I think it would be really cool if we saw her trying to improve her technique, kind of reflecting West and Chloe's dynamic in season 3. I would love to see Sloane maybe reach out to Noah, in which they would have a discussion or a partnership in trying to improve her technique. I think also this could work in Noah's favor, as in season 3 we saw that he felt like he was kind of stuck in this bubble of being a J-Trooper who was never to potentially grow or blossom, who's always being compared to Alden. And because we saw season 4 Sloane be a little bit not choicy with her words, I think it would make sense for her to be the one to call Noah out on how he feels and to kind of get a situation where they're opening up to each other and Noah is helping her in turn. I think Sloane would be very helpful in making Noah feel a little bit better in his position as a dancer. If Noah does keep his back injury, I would make sure that he does tell maybe Riley or Sloane about it. I think it would be really cool if he does tell Sloane she's trying to battle, if she should tell Riley that Noah is suffering from a back injury, kind of like the sort of friendship dynamics that's going on. And I think it would be really cool if maybe Sloane slips up and tells LaTroy that Noah is injured. And then we can kind of have this flow of telephone, and it would be so cool to see the different scenes in which we're actively engaging with the next step dancers and seeing their chemistry with each other, and ultimately the truth gets back to Noah and Riley. And then I think the qualifier dance would still happen, of course, and which Miss Sarah and Sandra will not be happy that Riley did not notify them that Noah was injured. I think the addition of having Henry in this would also help with this predicament, as Henry established himself as a very spiritual person in the group, and I think it would be really cool if we had this whole blow up of tension because of the broken telephone, in which Henry has to come and help the team kind of understand each other and their problems. I think it would be really cool if we brought back the group dynamics of sleepovers, kind of having to fix problems together and problem solve together, and see them doing more outside activities rather than being in the studio. That is one thing I really missed from the next step. Next, Amy and LaTroy. I would still make them remain as a couple and keep that storyline going, but LaTroy only makes it a point to break up with Amy before regionals due to his inability to deal with the personal issues of his father and his dance career. I would have it not be about Sloane. I think, in fact, Amy would go to Sloane for advice about how she can make their relationship better and how she can make LaTroy feel comfortable about opening up to her. I think it would be really cool if we had that dynamic, because I don't want to see girls going against girls. I hate that. Can we stop putting girls against girls over a man? come on. But I most definitely think Amy would go to Sloane for that type of advice, and LaTroy would only break it off with her because he feels as though he can't carry this weight and be selfish towards Amy if she's putting in so much effort and he can't do the same. I think it would teach children about healthy breakups and how and why it's important to take these necessary endings or breaks in a relationship, and sometimes it's always good to put yourself first. Now, small storylines that I did not touch upon is because I wouldn't necessarily have these people in my group or on my team. I think the storyline of Skylar was really neat, but for the purpose of this, I don't necessarily think she would be there. I think she would maybe, if she was in the story, I think she would maybe battle Riley in the sense of she could be a better dance captain, and Riley's trying to balance that out and having her position threatened. I think this is when it would be a good time to bring in Emily to help her understand what being a leader is like. I think maybe, and I always envisioned this, if we do have Sandra and Sarah there, obviously, then it would be a thing of sister be sister. And I think it would be really cool if we had like an ending shot of an episode where the two sisters are looking at each other in the sense that this is not how the next step is going to go, and this is how it is going to go. And I think it would be really cool to see that dynamic. Back to Michelle. Now, I actually do really like Michelle's storyline in this and her identity, which was really nice. And I really like that Elfie helped her. I would want this to be Riley, though. I really think that these two can bond over their shared difficulties and disadvantages. I think Michelle can offer Riley advice on how not to be uptight and how she can handle these certain situations, and Riley can help Michelle in that she needs to learn to be kinder to herself. And I think it would be really more impactful if instead of Alfie talking to Michelle, it was Riley. And I think this would fix the tension between them in this friendship and in this regard, making their dance more impactful and cute and kind of closes that chapter naturally between the two. I think that would be really cool. I think it would be cool if Amanda was sent to B Troop and we had maybe Sierra and Amanda and people who didn't make it to A Troop and have like a B Troop segment. I think it would make more sense for Amanda to start from the beginning or from the bottom until the top, because unfortunately they did ruin her character in season 3, and I think the redemption for it would be for her to maybe start on a humbling level, a ground level, in which she too is like, I think there's better things for me, and maybe she does have an opportunity at a different world company dance tour, whatever dance convention, to fly her wings. So that's all I have for today's video. If you do like the ideas, tell me why, and if you could expand on the ideas, then go ahead and do that in the comment section. I would really appreciate it, and your opinions are validated as well. If you disagree, then tell me why you choose not to see heaven, and I'm just kidding, but tell me why, and if you had alternate storylines or endings, then let me know. Okay guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Unfortunately, this might be the last next video. I'm really sad. But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.